Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here, and Kingsley Manuel is here.
Thanks for having me, Mr. Siri. Nice to be here this morning.
And of course, we start on a very cheering note because ahead of the Niger Delta game, second edition, the opening ceremony later today, draws for the game took place on Wednesday at the Samuel Saibu Stadium as the organizers declared the event open with the draws, but the official ceremonies is coming up later today. What do you expect across the city of Benin with the second Niger Delta games?
Yeah, I think we expect a lot of glamour, as we stand. We're all looking out for the competition to surpass the first edition we saw in the city of Oyo, Akwa Ibom State. And if you take a look at it, I think those states, they really put a whole lot, of course, on ground to make sure that, of course, they have a befitting Niger Delta games, this time around. We've seen them trying to improve, of course, facilities, and all of that. So for me, I think a lot of expectation at this point in time. We don't want maybe some of the lapses we saw in the last edition, to come up where, of course, we find it difficult, to assess medal table. Of course, that's been almost a tradition when it has to do with, sporting activities, here in the country. We hope that the local organizing committee, they've been able to put all those things, of course, in check. And most importantly, the main aim of the competition, which is, of course, to unearth talent. I think at this point in time, it should be the priority of each state. Monitor your athlete. Take a look at the ones, of course, that put up a very impressive performance. Select them and try to see how to give them, of course, a platform. So I think for me, the Niger Delta game has been a huge initiative, and I just hope that at the end of the day, those states, of course, will continue to bring the glamour from the competition.
9 states, you have the 36 in Nigeria will converge in Benin City. In fact, they are there already. The official opening ceremony gets underway about 4 p.m. Nigerian time. There will be a lot of shows heralding the opening ceremony. But first, let's look at 3,000 athletes converging on the city for these games. And 17 sports will be on showcase. Looking at this number, this looks like an improvement on what we saw in the first edition. In terms of participants and in sports disciplines to be, vied for as well. What do you make of the 17 sports? This is good. Additional sports after what we saw in Uyo?
Yeah, I think for me it's a good one because we're able to, of course, to see how maybe to discover athletes, in other sports, we've not really, of course, ventured into. We've always, been much particular about athletics, we talk about basketball, football, and the rest of them. We've not really dived into some other areas, where, of course, we don't really, of course, see athletes, really participating. And I think this time around, going into other sports or adding more sports, into this will help us also discover, more talent at this, point in time. 3,000 athletes, I think that's a huge record. It surpasses, the previous number, as it stands. And I think for me, it's actually a huge one at this point. It's good of a thing that the states are putting up interest to make sure, they, of course, look forward to see how to unearth talent, through this particular competition.
Well, wish the participants the very best of luck. I mentioned there are 9 states will be there, and hopefully I should be in Benin to see what is going on there with 17 sports being competed for with 3,000 athletes. But interest definitely will be on how to catch these athletes very young. And like we said, this is the second edition. We want to know what is happening to athletes that were discovered in the first edition. And we hope they will be properly honed. And of course, that is the only way to realize the objective of putting these games together. Let's continue. Across from Benin, we'll go to Lagos, where the iconic Mobolaji Johnson Sports Complex, that's at the Royal Park, will come alive this weekend as medalists from the 2025 National Youth Games return to the pool for battle for honors in the course of events of season 7 of the swimming league. This is getting interesting. This is the way to go. Yes, you take part, you win medals, and you further come together to see you to determine champions or champions at the swimming event. I'm sure the Swimming Federation must keep an eye on what will happen in Lagos this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. They really have to, of course, keep an eye on this one. I think at this stage, we'll be able to get the very best, of swimmers, at the end of the day. If you take a look at it, when it comes to swimming in the country, swimming has really gone on a decline. We've not really paid much attention, of course, to swimming. It looks as if we don't have swimmers, whereas when you take a look at, especially the Niger Delta region, you definitely, of course, discover a lot of riverine, states, like River States. You talk about Bayelsa, even Akwa Ibom, and the rest. But at the end of the day, we find it difficult, to produce swimmers that can maybe go out there, probably maybe the Olympics, and be able to put up a very impressive performance. But taking a look at this initiative, I think it's going to go a long way. If the Swimming Federation, of course, take it very serious, I think this is an opportunity where they can discover the best when it comes to do with swimming, and then see how we can, of course, elevate the sports, talking about swimming, in the country. Because if you look at it, it's looking as if we don't really pay much attention to it. Whereas when you go down maybe to the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games, other countries, take advantage of it. You see them racking up medals, via swimming. But when it comes to Nigeria, you don't tend to see any swimmers. So I think it's an opportunity for the Swimming Federation to see how to, pick up the very best from here and see how swimming, of course, can be elevated in the country.
Talking about swimming and Olympics reminds me of the Winter Games that's underway in the Italian league. Two-time Olympian Samuel Kwefan has called for greater institutional and, of course, financial benefits for athletes, especially African athletes that will be taking part at the Winter Olympic Games. Kingsley, you want to join two-time Olympian Samuel Kwefan to call for greater institutional and, of course, a financial benefit for especially African athletes that will be taking part in the Winter Olympics?
Yeah, I think for me it's going to be a good initiative at this point in time. When you look at it, the Samuel, of course, I think he's going to be the only representative, for Nigeria, at the Winter Olympic Games, and the man, of course, is calling for support, and he's going to participate in skiing. And skiing is not his kind of sports that we practice down here in Nigeria. I don't even think we even do that at all as a stand. But the man has taken that initiative, of course, to put up that representation, and that's why he's calling for support at this point in time. And I believe the National Sport Commission should look into it. Maybe he can be that man, of course, that could give us that impressive representation, when it comes to do with the winter event, and as well as the sports, swimming at this point in time. This is not his first time. I think he participated in 2022. And this is another moment, of course, he's trying to showcase himself once again. And in such a sport, talking about skiing, I think the National Sport Commission should take advantage of it and see, of course, if maybe we can, improve on it.
Kwefan representing Nigeria and Africa, sole athlete at the Winter Games. Of course, when it comes to Winter Games, it has to do with very extreme cold weather sports participation. But this is the Olympic, and when you don the color of Nigeria, that green, white, green color, then there should be some consideration from Nigeria that you are representing. This is an athlete a skiing athlete who sponsors his own training, and of course ensure he's representing the country at one of the biggest sporting, in fact the biggest sporting events in the country, in the world, the Olympic Games. Though this is the Winter Olympics, not as big as the Summer Games, but yet the important thing is that he's representing the country, Nigeria, and when you don that color, green, white, and green, you should have some consideration from the country you represent, and I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in such a time like this, it's a time that the National Sport Commission have to look into it. Of course, you understand the time we are that our athletes are really complaining of poor welfare. Some of them are switching allegiance, to other countries. We heard of the case of Favor Philly. Recently was Favor Ashe, and we hear that some are also going to go that same direction as well. So I think it's then time for the National Sport Commission to do something. We can't be losing our very best, and at the end of the day, we don't do something to see how to encourage them. Now that the man is canvassing for support now, probably maybe they might not pay attention. At the end of the day, he takes off his mind and will say, oh, this person has also, left us. So I think at this point in time, is an opportunity the National Sport Commission have to come in and see how we can support, this athlete. Take a look at the fact that he even go that far to even pay his trainers, pay for his transport down to the venue of the event, and that is very huge for an athlete to do all of that. You tend to know that the person has a lot of passion, for it. So the only thing you can do is just to put up that support. And I think it's time for the National Sport Commission, of course, to look into this and see how we can create a proper platform to take care of the welfare of our athletes. We can't be hearing every day our athletes are switching allegiance, or this one is complaining, of this one is complaining. Now that Samuel is even taking up this initiative, I think it's very important the National Sport Commission to key in and see also how we can have something to do, of course, when it comes to do with skiing as well as the Winter Games.
So many reasons why the National Sports Commission will have to be part of ensuring that athletes are sponsors to bigger sporting events like the Olympics, and I'm sure Shehu Diko and his members are listening to this particular call for help. Meanwhile, we'll now go to Ultimate Fight Championship, where former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman has revealed a bold blueprint for final chapter of his fighting career, announcing his intention to retire only after capturing both the welterweight and middleweight titles in what would be ranked among the most remarkable comeback stories in the Ultimate Fight Championship, or the mixed martial arts history. Can Usman Kamaru, the man on your screen, return back to winning in divisions where he had won before and lost woefully as well?
I think we just have to look at it. His last two fights was not good enough.
Back-to-back losses, remember?
Back-to-back losses.
In fact, 3 losses, in a stretch.
And I just hope that, of course, he bounced back in a fantastic fashion this time
around.
At
the age of 38?
They never can tell. Maybe he might have, of course, gone into his training camp and be able to put himself, very well at this point. So you take a look at it. Nigerian UFC fighters has been suffering. They've not been in the fantastic shape. Israel Adesanya also is one man that is also struggling, as a stand. That one, I think, he suffered about 3 losses before he went back, and we've not seen him for almost 2 years now, in the octagon. And now also Kamaru Usman, another man, who also suffered back-to-back losses, to say at this point in time. So I don't really know what's happening. Maybe age is catching up on them, at this point. But I think this is a time they have to look for a way to finish well, see how they can, of course, put up that legendary status when it comes to do it in the UFC at the end of the day. So we just hope that Kamaru will be able to see how to bring back, of course, his A game now that he has, of course, made up his mind to return to the octagon.
Wish Kamaru Usman the very best of luck. It will be history. In fact, it will be exciting to see him write a new chapter in the Ultimate Fight Championship, or the mixed martial arts business. From that mixed martial arts story, we'll go to cricket, where the Cricket Federation here in Nigeria has announced the commencement of zonal qualifiers across the 6 geopolitical zones for the 2026 National Under-17 Boys and Girls Championship. For me, this is a good initiative coming from the Chess Federation, Cricket Federation, sorry. Mike, Kingsley, looking at this, for me, it's catching them young and spreading it across all the 36 states of the country.
Definitely, I think it's a good initiative. So far, so good. I think when you talk about one federation that has been very consistent, is the Cricket Federation. You talk about Cricket Federation, you talk about the Handball Federation. These are federations that have shown high level of consistency, not only by participating in tournaments, but looking out for talent and also creating competitions like this that you see, that give
opportunity for them to catch them young.
To grow and catch them young, as you say. So for me, I think it's actually a very good one at this point in time. There's no how we're going to finish this, that we're not going to have a lot of cricketers that, of course, will possibly stand that chance of maybe elevating themselves down to the yellow greens, to see, and all of that. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed, and see how this one unfold.
But we have a thumbs up for the Cricket Federation for ensuring that the 6 geopolitical zones of the country have opportunity of exposing the best cricketers, and of course putting them up for proper development as well. From cricket, we'll bring you one more story from, I think this one could be coming from basketball, yes. And the former NBA star, Olumide Oyedeji, remember him, really top player in the NBA in those days. Now, he wants to prepare for a difficult campaign ahead of the 2026 African Basketball League. This is a former player at the highest level who should know what he's talking about. He didn't take part in the Basketball League Africa, but then he believes that as vice chairman of the Olympic Committee, the Basketball League Africa is a unique and, of course, highly demanding competition saying that those who represent the continent or Nigeria should be very, very prepared.
Yes, definitely. They should be very, very prepared. This time, we're going to see Lagos Legends, representing Nigeria after they won the basketball league, ahead of River Supers, this time around. And they should prepare. They've not played at the basketball league before. They don't have any experience. So no matter how good, of course, they are, you can't use the strengths here to compare to what, of course, you're going to face in the basketball league. We've seen River Supers, despite even beating all the teams here in the league, still go down there to struggle. All right, I think the best they've done is to get down to the semi-final stage of the competition. Lagos Legends, there is side, of course, that they don't have any experience at all. The last time we saw a side that do not have any experience in the basketball league was Kwara Falcons. They went in there and couldn't win a game, and they returned. So this is another time we'll have another team that do not have the basketball league experience. So enough and a massive preparation, of course, needs to be done. They don't have to rely on their players. They have to look for foreign hands that could be able, of course, to help them, just like what we've seen River Supers do, over the years, to make sure they stand a chance of probably putting up a very impressive performance for Nigeria.
Talking about Basketball League Africa for 2026 season, it will get underway in the next 3 weeks or so from now in Pretoria, South Africa. Thereon, move to Rabat, Morocco, and they'll conclude in Kigali. Three, wing of competition rounding up on the 31st of May 2026. And talking about basketball, the pinnacle of it all is the NBA, and Kingsley, something interesting happening here. It just got concluded, the match between LA Clippers and Denver Nuggets, 115 to 114 points. Just 1 point win for the home side, the Clippers over Denver Nuggets.
Of course, was a very impressive performance, down there, for the Clippers. I think for me, we've seen that resilient performance, so far from the LA Clippers. We've seen them, of course, trying to put up a very impressive performance over Denver Nuggets, this time around, and look forward to see, how it comes up. Last season, we didn't really see, an impressive progress, from them, but I think this season has really been, of course, a step up, for them. But we'll still see how they keep up, this level of play.
Very interesting fixture they just concluded. Of course, it's the wee hours of the morning in the United States of America, and this match just got concluded about 2 minutes ago. But we saw the Golden State Warriors lose at home. Kingsley, it's disturbing that both Celtics could travel to the Golden State and, of course, upset the home side 110 to 121 points, a whooping 11 points difference between the two.
It's so sad for the Golden State Warriors. I think this season they've just been up and down. We've not really seen that spark, from them. Just like what, of course, we've been discussing or talking about for some time, depending on their man, Steph Curry, has also been another, as a little bit of setback, for them. A tree cannot make it for it. Sometimes we also expect some other players, to live up to expectation, to also see, how they can, of course, put up a very impressive performance. But for Golden State, I just hope that they'll be able to find back their mojo and see how, of course, they can, finish well of this season.
Well, talking about basketball, something interesting seems to be happening, but of course not too cherry if you ask me, because Steph Curry has been given a clean MRI test, but then he will be completely re-evaluated in the next 10 days. We understand he'll be missing like 5 games owing to this injury concern.
It's a huge setback for Golden State Warriors, especially when you don't have the man, of course, on the pitch of play. You see how the Golden State Warriors, do not really look, like themselves. I think you take a look at it, could be probably his absence that might have even caused that defeat for them, early hours of today. So that's what I just talked about. When Steph Curry, of course, is not on board, the Golden State Warriors, they look very shaky, and that's what, of course, we saw early hours for today. We just hope that, of course, they'll be able to manage the 5 games that the man, of course, will not be around, to see how, of course, they can at least be able to hold their own till he returns.
Well, the last 5, let's hope that the next 4 might just be good for the Golden State Warriors, but without their talisman, Steph Curry, who will be missing for 5 days. But we understand he will be re-evaluated in another 10 days. We hope he will be back to complete the season with the Golden State Warriors. So many results coming in the early hours of this morning, but That's the much we can take. We'll bring you further results at 6 p.m. Nigerian time. For now, we'll take a break. When we return from the break, we'll get into tennis. Wow, Yannick Sinner, world number one, had to lose 22 after 22 games. He's lost his very first. We'll see how he can bounce back from that. Beyond that, football, there were a lot of Europa League fixtures last night across Europe. We'll see which of the teams, especially home teams, that did so poorly last night. Then, of course, Premier League, it is getting very interesting. Quara United back in the news again for very wrong reasons, attacking match officials, away team Rivers United, and now they've been slammed with a fine of 9 million naira, and of course will have to play away from their own stadium for as long as they remain indisciplined, in my own words. And of course, a lot more coming from the world of football. Just stay with us. We'll take a break now. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. Don't forget, we told you that the second edition of the Niger Delta Games gets underway in Benin City, Edo State today. The official opening ceremony really with the later today. But then, athletes, 3,000 of them, and of course, that will be competing in 17 sports are already in the city of Benin, and preparations are already underway for the official opening ceremony later today. Now, let's bring you some more stories, this time from tennis. And in tennis, Yannick Sinner has lost after 22 wins in the game. Yannick Sinner, of course, reaching yet another milestone. Not on a very good note, if you ask me yet. He was knocked out by number 2 at the Qatar Open quarterfinals a few hours ago. Kesley, who could have beaten world number 1, Yannick Sinner?
I think it's world number 2.
World number 2 now?
Currently.
Currently.
You know, as it stands. I think for me, this season, Yannick Sinner should try to see how to step up a bit, because the way it's going, Karas Akras might just be way ahead of him from what it's. We saw what happened to him at the Australian Open, where he was knocked out by Novak Djokovic. And now he's been beaten by Jacob Mansik. I don't think...
Mansik, number 16 in the world?
Yeah. So I think for me, he should watch it so that that rivalry between him and Carlos Alcaraz will still be there, you know, as it stands. So was not a good one for him, but of course things do happen. But I think it's a wake-up call. This should be a wake-up call for him. This is his second tournament, you know, for the season, and he has not been able, of course, to get to the final. And his rival, talking about Alcaraz, is already in the semi-final already. So I think for Yannick Sinner, he should really step up his game. I don't really know what's the problem, if maybe there's a pressure, you know, to say at this point in time. But I think he's one player that can, of course, withstand pressure and be able to put up a very impressive performance, you know, anytime, any day. So we'll just look forward to see how it goes. Maybe we'll see a little bit of a disappointment for him. But I believe, of course, he can, of course, you know, get up and be able to do something huge for himself going forward.
Carlos Alcaraz has moved on,
yeah.
and you are talking about him in very glorious ways. But he has Rublev in the semi-finals. That's a tricky banana, if you ask me.
A tricky banana, but when you take a look at the current form of Carlos Alcaraz, you want to give him the go-ahead to be
because he just won his Grand Slam.
Yeah, the Grand Slam, and the man has been on the fine form. He has been on the fine form of recent. So I'm not seeing Rublev, of course, being... Yes, it's going to be tough, but the current form of Carlos Alcaraz speak a lot of volume for him, you know, at this point in time. Except anything otherwise happen, maybe injury in the process of the game and all of that. But when you talk about Alcaraz at this point, he's been, of course, putting up a very impressive performance. I don't know, some are tagging it to him, you know, cutting off his hair. Since he cut off his hair, I think the man has been on a sensational, you know, performance. So it's been a good one for him. Let us see how he wrap up this one as well.
Carlos Alcaraz is the man of the moment. Of course, at the age of 22, the youngest to win a career Grand Slam, and we just hope he can continue in that fine form. Still looking at tennis for you this hour. After a string of withdrawals at the Dubai Tennis Championship, 4 of the top 7 seeds have reached the semi-finals. We have Elina Svitolina, who recovered from a set-down, to beat Croatia's Antonia Rusic, who reached the last 8 after qualifying as a lucky loser and upsetting Britain's Emma Raducanu. The world number 9 won 3-6, 6-2, 6-3 only on Thursday, and will face American Coco Gauff for a place in the final in the UAE tournament. Coco Gauff can blow hot and cool.
Yeah, definitely. She can blow hot and cool. Inconsistency, if you look at it of recent, has been her next name. She will be at the final in this tournament, and the next competition she's losing in the first or second round. That's how it has been for Cory Coco Gauff. But we just hope that maybe if she gets this one, it will be, you know, a huge inspiration, you know, for her, trying to see how to stabilize, you know, her performance going forward. You really have to prove yourself when it has to do with WTA, because there's a whole lot of competition, you know, down there. Arina Sabalenka is not slacking. Iga Swiatek, yes, despite the inconsistency, she's still there as what, number 2. You talk about the likes of Jessica Pegula. What about the other young ones that are coming, the likes of Mboko, the likes of Miriam Andreeva? So you really have to keep up your performance, you know, going. Else, you might just be relegated, you know, at the end of the day. And that's what, you know, I expect, you know, from Cory Coco Gauff. She's a fantastic tennis player, but sometimes when you really expect her to put up a very impressive performance, you see her falter. So maybe this might be, of course, that's a pick-up point for Corey Coco Golf.
1,000 points at stake, and of course, these tennis players are trying to see how many of these points they can amass to improve on their ranking overall. Right now, we told you how Yannis has dropped from world number 1 to world number 2, aligned reigning champion, or let's say career Grand Slam winner, Carlos Alcaraz, 22 years of age, from Spain, to dominate as world number 1. And as if that was not enough, he's now dropped he's lost his first game after winning 22, consecutively. Well, we wish the Italian the very best of luck. Let's go to football now. We'll start with female football, Kingsley. And it looks like this is a season of fines and, of course, indiscipline on and off the pitch. On the pitch, we saw Oshun Babes fined 2.5 million naira after regulatory breaches led to the abandonment of their 2025-26 Premier League fixture against FC Robo Queens in Lagos. Why do a team get so indisciplined to the point of walking off, abandoning the game? You don't consider the fans who have paid their money, who have come all the way to watch the games?
I think it wasn't about abandoning the game. It was as a result of Oshun Babes not having
Proper kits.
Proper kits. In that particular encounter, they came with the first kit and they realized that the color was clashing with their opponent. Okay, they were advised to go get the second kit, and the fact that they didn't have the jersey number on the second kit. So at the end of the day, after much waiting from the match officials, and they couldn't actually do something to see how to salvage that situation, the man had to call off the game and awarded 3 points and 3 goals to their opponents. I think for me it's really embarrassing if things like this, of course, is still ongoing in the Nigerian Women Football League. I think these are things that are supposed to be done even before the game. You know the color of the jersey your opponent is to wear in that particular game, and you know the one you're to wear, so that you don't have this kind of
that is what they call pre-match meeting. That's done at least 24 hours before the match, where both teams meet with the match officials. In that pre-match meeting, you present colors for the team that will be used. They're supposed to have a mandatory 2 colors for a match.
Yeah.
So if by any reason it clashes, you change to the next
jersey,
next color, which is different from the initial one. But I'm not too sure that pre-match meeting took place, because you do not have to wait till match day to get all of this. If it did take place, then they would have been advised earlier, but maybe they did not have any choice, and I think they deserve to be punished. But overall, it is an embarrassment to football here.
The league is really an embarrassment. Okay, even though the first jersey actually clashed, what about the second jersey? It means they are not really prepared. The second jersey do not have the jersey number, of course, on it. So it was really a lackadaisical attitude, from Oshun Babes, and just being fined, about 2-point-something million. I think it's really a huge amount of money, of course, for them. When you take a look at, even the prize money of the league is not even that huge, and all of that. So for me, I think it's a lesson for them as well as a lesson for other teams, so that they do not also toward the same direction.
Talking about lesson reminds me of what happened at the Lorry Township Stadium, where fans attacked match officials at the end of the encounter, beat up referees, beat up the opposing team manager, and they were now being fined 9 million naira, 3 points deduction from their game, and of course asked to be of good behavior, moved to a new venue. I think they will play at the MK Abiola Stadium in Ogun State. But it looks like Kwara United have not learned any lesson at all, because they've been fined before. As if that's not enough. This season alone, we've seen at least 3 other club side, banished from their home because of crowd trouble, fined, and all of this. But it looks like no, these teams don't learn lesson. Kwara United shouldn't be involved in this before, because not too long ago they were banned and banished and fined as well. But it looks like the team could not control their fans. Their fans will completely overwhelm them, and now they will have to pay as much as 9 million naira. Well, for the state government, that's not much, but docking 3 points looks a little bit.
Yeah, and 3 goals.
And 3 goals as well. But a lot of people are saying that it looks like these fines are not heavy, are not deterrent enough, because we've seen this season at least 3 clubs have.
Yeah.
But the others are not
taking any lesson from it. It's very bad, at this point in time. I think, in talking about this fine, what the MPFL board really emphasized on was inadequate security. And this is very common among MPFL teams. They do not try most of the time to provide adequate security in a game. right? If there was adequate security in that match, I don't think maybe what happened would have happened. At least the security men would have tried most of the time to see how to salvage or cope that situation, from happening. And at this point in time, I think
there's something that disturbs me. In all of these disturbances at match venues, we've always been told that the culprits must be arrested and they're prosecuted. But for war, maybe the only one we saw was the one in Bayelsa State. We've not seen other culprits, being arrested, prosecuted in court, and fined, and sent to jail, sentenced, or things like that. At least to be deterrent to others who might just feel that because you were watching a game and you're not satisfied with the decision of the central referee, you just jump up and cause mayhem and body injuries.
It's difficult to even, of course, try to fish out these culprits, at the end of the day, because they will just maybe do what they want to do and they run away. How do you even trace them? Do you have a CCTV camera in the stadium? Do you have means of tracking them? That's another thing. So who will you go and hold responsible and say, okay, you were the person that threw stones, you were the person who actually came to harass the center referee or maybe the manager of the team, and all of that. So these are things that makes it difficult for you to even lay your hands and say, okay, this is the person that actually did this, and all of that. So the MPFL board, I think if you look at it, the sanctions are severe enough. But the thing is, they should try as much as can to talk to these clubs, get massive security in your stadium or in your game. And as well,
the club knows that they are going to be relegated at the end of the season if their fans put them in terrible disgrace like that. Then the fans will know that, we will not be watching Premier League football next time, so let's behave ourselves.
Another thing is the clubs do not also sensitize their fans on the implication and consequences when they take all this action. That's another thing.
Well, let's hope that there will be lessons learned from this incident that took place at the Lorry Township Stadium. But meanwhile, the biggest football news you can get around in Nigeria right now is a request by head coach of the Super Eagles, Eric Shell, for $130,000 on a monthly basis, and of course 28 other conditions which he has listed, including giving flight tickets to his family to come to Nigeria, of course giving remunerations to his personal assistant, and ensuring that he too be part of allowances. He wants all the monies for his staff, assistant, built into his own, and he needs this money paid on or before the 31st of every month. And several other conditions. Do you think the Nigerian Football Federation will meet up with these conditions requested, being put forward by Coach Eric Shell, the Malian French football coach?
In a more senior climb, this is fair enough. But here in Nigeria, I don't think the NFF will want to yield to this, at this point in time. In a more senior climb, all these things man has listed is what probably is entitled to. But here in Nigeria, when was the last time we even paid a coach about $60,000? Yes, so Pesero, how much was he receiving? It was not $60,000. And what's his name? Chell is earning $50,000. And now it's asking for $130,000. I don't think the NFF will maybe want to dollar that amount of money every month. And that's about 170-something million every month, to the manager of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Don't forget previously, they've been struggling to pay the money.
If you're looking for a top-class coach, that looks like a peanut to be paid.
That's the thing. That's why I said, on a norm, this should be a very easy thing, talking about what Eric Charles listed. But the way football is being run and the way the Nigeria Football Federation put their things, administrative-wise, would they be able to do that?
The guy has been boxed, but interestingly, something happened. He applied for a coaching job in France.
Yeah.
And only lost the job about 48 hours ago. And after that, this issue of request from Nigeria is coming up. Will he be accused of looking out for another job while he's in
There are still other offers on his table. Tunisia they are there. What's the name again? Was it this other country? There are so many offers on his table, and that's why the man is coming up with this. If Tunisia is saying, "Oh yeah, come, we'll give you $100,000," other countries are saying, "Okay, come, we'll give you what is beyond what you're currently earning at the moment." Won't you think twice? At this point in time. So the man has seen other things on his table and say, if I'm to get this, that means if I'm to stay here, these people have to do something. And that's why it's coming with all of this demand, as it stands. That's why I said on a norm, this shouldn't be a problem. If he's been given all of this, I think it's to help him do his job or carry out the job properly and be able to put up his best with the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
Well, my advice is the Nigeria Football Federation must do everything possible to try and see how they can retain Eric Shell, because looking for another coach of his quality could even be more expensive. But what do I know? Let's quickly now look at UEFA Champions League results. Sorry, Europa League results that came up last night. Of course, they need to qualify for the round of 16 is heating up. There were some matches across last night. Noah beat AK Asma from the Dutch Republic, and then we had some other interesting results. Lausanne Sports played a 1-0 draw with Crystal Palace, and Florentina went all the way to Bistock to beat their opponents by 3 unreplied goals. It was an away win for Sansospor from Turkey, and Rijeka as well beat Omonia Nicosia by 1-0. Interesting fixtures of matches coming up this weekend. But first, for tonight, we see Atletico Club take on Elche in the Spanish La Liga. There in the Bundesliga in Germany, Mainz 05 will take on Hamburger, while across in Serie A, Sassuolo will try to see how to upset Hellas Verona. And in the French League 1, Brest will take on Olympique Marseille, the club side that missed the opportunity of signing Eric Shell just a few hours ago. Kingsley, that will be it for this edition. At 6 p.m. Nigerian time, there will be time to look at the prospects of the Super Falcons. I think they have a friendly two friendly games as well.
Cameroon.
And beyond that, I will bring you some of the exciting activities that are taking place at the second edition of the Niger Delta Games in Benin. Don't forget, we told you that the official opening ceremony will get underway at about 4 p.m. This evening in Benin City, Edo State. That will be it for this edition of Sports Talk. We'll be back at 6 p.m. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.